Hey everyone, it looks like we've had a little bit of an audio glitch in this episode, so before we get to it, I just wanted to give you a heads up. It only lasts for about 2 or 3 minutes, so if we can just suffer through it or fast forward through that part. We decided to leave it in because it's almost a 2-hour podcast and the rest of it is great, so sorry about the little glitch. We're working to improve our systems over time to bring you more value in the future. In the meantime, here's the episode.
I don't know. I have been starting to order extra hot lattes recently. Did you notice that?
Yes.
And you know who orders them normally?
Who?
My dad.
Oh.
Yeah.
You're turning into your dad?
Well, that's the second time I've said it today, haven't I? Oh, man. Well, good luck to you.
Yeah. Good luck to you too. We're rolling.
Yeah, I figured. Well, we're here. We did it. We took a week off and we're back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't necessarily mind this cadence every other week.
We'll do what we can.
Yeah. We do what we want.
We're doing a lot.
I was going to say, we'll be gone next week, and it's Chief Joseph Days, so no one's going to be listening to it anyway.
Well, these are for the archives. I figure people listen to them way after the fact anyway.
Sure.
So what does it matter?
I was told to count on really crummy Wi-Fi this week in the gym. We had like a little moment where the music cut out while everybody was like nearing the end of their workout, and it was like, bah, party foul. And Jen yells out, "It's almost Chief Joseph Days." So, yeah, we might have a lot of interruption, but nothing happens next door, right?
No, it's just the bandwidth in the county, I think is what they're referring to.
Except there was one time that you and I and Reagan went to something pre-Joseph Days, and it might have been here. Maybe it was in Joseph. I can't remember.
It's pretty much all on Joseph.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we're safe.
Yeah, maybe we'll download some playlists for the gym.
Good idea.
Because working out in silence is
the worst.
Its own kind of torture.
It's funny because I have this term that I called library lifting. Have I told you about this?
No.
I haven't?
Not for a while, anyway.
Okay, so every once in a while, I'll invoke library lifting, which is like touch and go lifting that's like really, really quiet to ensure that you've got tension to like the very last moment.
Gotcha.
So I think I talk about it on deadlifts more specifically, rather than like dunking it down to the floor, which, you know, has its own time and place for sure. But we're so often trying to be precise about people's positioning. And when I cue them to have like a library lift, really, really quiet, it tends to get the result that I want. But interestingly, library lifting could also be thought of as lifting in silence, and that's the worst.
Yeah, the problem is it's not silence. If I don't have music on, I'm just listening to my knees.
It's a great backdrop. Super motivating.
Percussion instruments.
Yes. That's the worst.
Bending cardboard.
I was going to say, I would take popping over bending cardboard any day. It makes me sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how it sounds when I go upstairs.
Sorry. Yeah, sometimes I can hear it.
when I go up the stairs?
I can hear it when I go up the stairs. I don't really know what that's from, though. Do you? Because I know what like popping is from and crunching is from.
It feels like cartilage, but I'm assuming that it must be gas bubbles around the cartilage and not actual soft tissue.
I always think of it as like I'm really dehydrated or something. It's like real dry in my joints.
I don't think that could be my excuse. I down so many element packets every day. How could I possibly be dehydrated?
Did you see that people have been taking the element packets? Thanks, guys.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really
sorry about the weird flavors.
Yeah. There might be a reason that those ones ended up there. I am really curious, though. Some people have taken the chocolate one home, and I'm like dying to know what that's like without actually having to
what you gonna do with
spearhead it.
Yeah.
Someone said something about like a salty hot chocolate.
I did.
Like you put it. Did you do that?
Yeah, I told you about it, and it was disgusting.
Oh, yeah. Darn!
It was too salty. Like,
what if it was just a bigger cup?
You'd have to dilute it into like Many cups.
Many cups of hot chocolate. Probably not.
Because I only put a little bit in. I didn't put a whole packet in.
And it was still too salty?
Yeah, it was real. So, yeah.
Okay, so maybe not.
It reminded me of the time I was a kid when I was at my grandmother's house and she never had sugar in the house. And she always had
which grandma are you talking
boring cereals. Yes.
Leela.
Yeah. So
You
just...
had, like, super sugary cereals at one grandma's house and the opposite at the other.
I know. That's why I was in culture shock when I'd go to one grandma's and all she would have is grape nuts or cornflakes. And that was it. And so I was hunting for sugar, and there was a big container that looked like sugar in a restaurant, but it was salt. And I ate the cereal with the salt on it.
Knowing you probably liked it.
No. It didn't turn out well.
You always say that your grandma would have liked me, and she always sounded kind of scary to me, but maybe we would have liked each other because I like those cereals too.
I know. You guys could have all had your greens together, and yeah.
But she was kind of doing that in like all areas of her life, right? You had told me something about like the fabrics that were allowed in her house or that she would wear all had to be like natural woven things.
She was allergic to many synthetics. Yeah.
Well, that'll do it.
So it was rough. Well,
that kind of brings us to our theme.
Sure.
In a weird way.
That?
I
the
have
basics?
Not just the basics. I have a note here that says, keep it simple, stupid. And, so many of our members, like, especially if they've been with us for a little while, they tell us or update us that their algorithms on their social media feeds like drastically change. And I'm going to guess if that's the case, then you guys are probably seeing all kinds of fitness influencers, coaches, gyms, athletes, whatever. Like, really, it's a vast world out there. And a lot of it is great and a lot of it's garbage.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted a chance to talk to you about like what your thoughts were around it or what your experience around that has been, especially since you and I are making content now. Like, how do we differentiate ourselves? And, how does that spill over into what we do in the gym?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a few things about this. There's people who are presenting things as if they're cutting edge or interesting, and they're just silly. First of all, so there's like a whole category of stuff that's just garbage, like just straight up, yeah, I probably shouldn't do that, or it's just a waste of time. And there's some people who are very specific about their goals and just paint the whole rest of the world as if the rest of the world should have their goals. And so what I mean by that is I see a lot of guys dogging on certain exercises because they're not effective. But when they say effective, what they mean is they are bodybuilders and they're trying to put on size. And so they crap on some movement like the deadlift as if it's useless and high risk. And I'm like, well, for you, because you are not training functionally, you are trying to look good in the mirror. And maybe you're right. Maybe that is a higher risk than you need to do to get a big back. But that's not everybody's goal in life is to have a huge back. So maybe... Are
they not transparent about that? Or
No.
Are they just like, oh, it's not going to be...
No, there's just this huge
worth your time.
Trend right now that deadlifts are dangerous and that they're high risk to reward. And you're better off just doing like back extensions and whatever.
Because we all have a GHD at home.
Well,
what?
And everybody has different things like, oh, you could just do this and this, or you could just do that and that and get just as good as results. And I'm like, well, when you say results, you're not defining what you
the
mean
results are,
by results. Because if you're talking about building bone density and overall, rigidity through your whole body and all the mechanics that it takes to lift something properly off the floor, like if your goals are not just aesthetic in the mirror goals, then the deadlift is probably one of the most valuable lifts you could possibly do.
I was just going to say.
And the risk is so low. I have coached for 22 years. I've seen a few minor back strains that people got over. I've never seen a catastrophic, like life-altering injury like people talk about on the internet. Oh, you're going to end up with back surgery. It's like, well, in 22 years of coaching thousands of people, I've never once seen a serious injury from
And
a
I don't think
deadlift.
you're exaggerating that you're in the thousands at this point.
Oh, no. No, I have coached thousands of people. I have absolutely. I've done the math.
It's amazing.
So there's just, I'm not seeing what they're seeing. You know, it's like, well, yeah, you can be stupid and go into the deadlift inexperienced and try to lift as much as you can. And you're right. That's probably pretty high risk.
They probably just don't know how to deadlift.
But if you're like, yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like this has become this big topic in certain circles. And I think it's a silly non-issue. It's just like, well, you either A, don't know what you're doing, or B, it doesn't match with your goals, but that doesn't mean it's not useful.
Right. I think the issue is the dogging on other methodologies. I mean, I certainly have my own biases and opinions about maybe other modalities of training, but it kind of reminds me of those like political ads. I forget what they're called when you like intentionally shit on your opponent.
Yeah.
I think those people lose credibility almost immediately because you're needing to put somebody down in order to rise up.
Mm-hmm.
And that is such a lazy, losery tactic.
Yeah.
So I already kind of like tune that out, I think, when I see that kind of stuff online.
Yeah. I'll admit I was guilty of this for a time, but it was like 20 years ago when I got my cert through NASM and started personal training. National Academy of Sports Medicine starts with sort of like a stability foundation. So you kind of do cycles, right? You do like 12-week cycles of just working on stability. So there was a lot of stuff like Bosu balls and bands and things like that. And then you kind of graduate to more closely to a bodybuilding style with some legit strength movements in it. But it, as technical as that book was or that course certification, a lot of emphasis on anatomy. It was a really good foundation, but they didn't ever approach anything like deadlifts, cleans, like most big barbell movements. They just kind of shied away from them. And I think they do have other certifications, but the personal training certification did not cover a lot of that big stuff. So when I was introduced to like cleans the first time, I'm like, I don't even know what you're doing here. And I'd already been a personal trainer for a couple of years. So I find CrossFit, and all of a sudden at that time, people may not know this. I mean, I've been around a while. And when CrossFit was brand new, like in the mid to early 2000s, nobody knew what it was. It was just like this tiny little online community that was starting to spread through word of mouth, 100% word of mouth. But when I saw it, I was like, oh man, it makes everything else look stupid. Like the things they're doing are amazing. And the people who are doing it look incredibly fit and capable. And they can I was watching girls do muscle ups on rings. And I was like, what the hell is this? This is so
that must have been
cool.
really exciting.
Yeah. And then
yeah.
to top it off, they shared all their information. Like everything was free. You could just watch video after video after video of coaches coaching people with cues and like how to do things. And I was like, goldmine. Like at the time, nobody was sharing information at all. So I became really biased. I was like, oh, if it's not CrossFit, it's just stupid and out of date. But I've come around like 20 years later. I'm like,
but we still come back. Like we still prioritize this way of training.
Yeah. And I'm still really biased toward functional training in general, because I think it carries over to things in your life more appropriately. But I do bodybuilding at least once or twice a week now. And I used to kind of shit on that for a while because I thought it was a waste of time or not as cool as CrossFit. But now I see that the older I get, the more important it is for me to maintain some muscle mass. And so bodybuilding has a long, rich history of people who have figured out what to do to make that happen.
I would like to look into that long, rich history, those photos that we saw the other day of those people from like the early 1900s. Mm-hmm. So cool. I'm really curious, like on the women's side, like where were they training? What were they picking up? Because you don't often see the photos of the women actually like holding weights and things. So I'm just kind of curious what that looks like.
There was a couple of those gals we saw on those photos yesterday that were big.
They had backs.
They were
backs.
and guns. Yeah, like they were
impressive.
obviously moving some weight.
Yeah. I was thinking about old timey CrossFit and how it was just like a blog, if you remember.
Yeah.
And that kind of ties in the theme too. It kind of reminds me of like old Facebook when that was easy to navigate and it was really simple and it was like all
your friends
in a chronological order. And now Facebook is like cesspool of a nightmare. But it's interesting hearing about like the progression that NASM takes, because if I really were to train people the way that I'd want to, that's probably how I'd want to do it, right? I know that I have really suffered in my own practice because I haven't given stability enough of a focus, and I'm like a gummy girl. Like I really do need to build like holistic tension throughout my body and build some meaningful strength there. And so maybe the only thing that I think about NASM is like they don't necessarily take into account that being a trainer or a coach, I feel like more of our job is like how do you keep people accountable, not just teaching them the right things.
Oh, it's almost all of it.
So like, one reason I think that like we lean into CrossFit, or like we were into CrossFit, is that like you build momentum very quickly. And there's all this kind of like shiny stuff to be excited about. You know, I remember my very first day going to CrossFit, I was so scared. I was a part of like a 2-week on-ramp group. And I used to like get the stomach nerves before class, like clockwork. I'll end it there, but I'm sure you know what I mean. But I remember my first coach, Megan Ricky, she, at the time, she was a mom of 2. Her kids were probably like under the age of 12 at this point. And I came into the gym and she was just like cranking out pull-ups. And I was like, is that what I'm going to be able to do? You know, I was just so inspired. And I think that is a huge contributing factor of like not only why people gravitate towards this, and why we distribute it too. Yeah. But the thing about that too is that there's kind of like a point where it topples over, where I think I mentioned in our last episode that I'm like really interested in learning bar muscle up. Well, there's like 500 different ways that you can learn how to do that. And some of the things are really simple and like a little unsexy and like really effective. And then there's like all this really fancy stuff with all this like really intensive setup with bars and bands and med balls and like all this stuff that would probably really slow my progress, because just thinking about setting it up is too much of a hassle.
Yeah, there's friction there to even be able to get into a steady practice.
Sure. Or it's like skipping a lot of foundational steps.
Yeah.
You know, it's like trying to make something overly complicated that like really doesn't have to be that way. And what's funny is that I think this crosses like all different industry skills, whatever, is like we're drawn to that cool, sexy thing. But what's really going to get you there is like the boring stuff.
Yeah.
Or like the simple stuff.
It's such a cool video I saw the other day on social media from Dave Durante. Shout out Power Monkey. And he was talking about the muscle up and how before CrossFit, there was no such thing as a kipping muscle up. That's not a real thing.
It's just a tired
in gymnastics.
Muscle up.
Well, it's a way to get your muscle up before you actually are strong enough to get the strict movement. And so
that you would actually perform.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so to your point specifically about that muscle up, it's like, yeah, you can learn all this stuff with bands and boxes and jumping techniques and kipping and all these like shoot through things with barbells and whatever. But that's actually, you're learning the skills it takes to kind of cheat your way there. Whereas what he was talking about is you need to work to pull higher on your pull-ups when you do strict pull-ups. Like pull your arms down to your sternum, down to your hands should go down to your sternum and chest so that you are just in the position where you can roll over into the dip and get there that way. And then you'll have kipping muscle ups as a tool to use for volume or time in a Metcon or something like that, but you'll also have the strength to prevent injury in those positions because you can just literally muscle your way through it, the muscle up. And so it was a great video. He said it a lot more eloquently than I just did, but he was calling out kind of like, instead of getting all fancy about it and learning all these techniques, instead of being so technique driven, you need to get the foundation of just strength to be able to do that with a simple movement of dips and pull-ups, but you need to extend the range of motion of those as you get stronger.
Interestingly, in weightlifting, when you were talking just now about kipping, I was like, well, in weightlifting, like those movements are like catapults, like a kip would be.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to use those. We actually try to like kind of beat muscling those lifts out of people because you're not applying technique, you're only applying strength. And weightlifting is about much more than just strength. But I would say the foundational elements that cannot be skipped are the mobility and the stability.
Mm-hmm.
The strength doesn't matter as much. The strength comes next.
Yeah. I mean, I was just talking to a good friend of mine about his problem getting down quickly into the clean. And it's just that I think the reason why it's hard for you to change directions from the pull up or the jump up to receiving that bar down, and that quick change of direction isn't necessarily something you can beat out of yourself with technique if you are so tight that the bottom of your squat
is scary.
It is a scary position. It's your brain putting the brakes on because you probably shouldn't be jumping into that position.
And that's when all sorts of those like really crummy compensations show up, like a rounded back or elbows dropping to the knees and things like that.
Yeah.
I have to say it's been really fun lately for me to coach weightlifting. I told you this the other day, but I feel like I'm seeing it all so clearly all of a sudden. And I think that partly has to do with my own training, which is very much in line with what we're talking about today. For the last couple of months, I've been coaching on the floor more often, or much longer days than I had been for the last year. And, I can't make it to any classes at the moment, or, I'm really using my time between classes to nap, rest, eat, whatever. And so what I decided to land on is like, all right, I used to go to Rat Pack class every once in a while because I really liked to do that lifting. How long did that lifting actually take? Probably about 30 minutes if I was on task and working by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I decided to do, and I've been at it for the last like 4 to 6 weeks, of a half an hour of lifting a day. And that's it. Day one is snatches, and then the back squat, push press, deadlift, clean and jerks. And I'm doing Rat Packs. Would you call that Wendler cycling? It's close.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wendler cycling, the 7s, 5s, and 3s. I think there are 1s in Wendler, so it's slightly modified. And then I'm doing barbell clubs, weightlifting, just the clean and jerk and just the snatch, like progressions. And it's been awesome. I can't tell you like how tempted I am to like do other fancy stuff that I either see on the internet or that y'all get to do in class or whatever. But I just know that right now my bandwidth doesn't allow for that. So I have to be really selective and like keep it simple, right? Let it be approachable. Let it be done hard and well. Like that was what I wanted, is like, I want to be able to hit these really hard, even if it's for such a short time.
Yeah. It needs to be high effort, but low complexity. It doesn't have to be complex. In fact, there could be an argument that just focusing on those basics will open the doors for more complexity later on, because you'll have this strong foundation to work from.
Well, and of all those things, that's the most important to me, is to stay as strong as possible. I feel a lot more like injury prone if I try to hit a Metcon like here or there, or if I try to do 2 hours of weightlifting here or there. So it's like, what is this baseline that I can like really build a foundation on? And then when my schedule allows, or when I'm ready to ramp up, like that momentum is already there. The strength is there. The progressions are there for sure. I saw this funny video yesterday of this gym owner, and he made a reel that said like, oh, you own a gym, you probably work out all day long. He shows like all the things that he's actually doing all day long. And that obviously resonated.
Yeah.
There's parts of me that feel like this is ironic as hell that I have such a short amount of time to work out right now. And I literally live at my dream gym.
Yeah. Welcome to owning a gym.
You've always talked about it and I didn't believe you.
I remember so many times that I would be, as a coach / owner, the only time for me to work out is those little windows between classes all day long. And I would I would have like a 3-hour window. Oh, I got lots of time. I'm going to get my workout in. And then, before I do that, I probably should finish this Facebook ad. And then I would
sabotage,
go out, onto the floor, and they like, oh, well, now I only have 90 minutes before people are going to start showing up. I better get warming up. And I would literally warm up and look across the gym and see something that needed to be fixed or moved or cleaned or, and it's like, I'll just do that between sets. Yeah. Yeah, right. So before you know it, I'm like up on a ladder fixing something. It's like, well, I guess I'll try again tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that sucks. But the cure for in anybody's life, even if you're not a gym owner, is to always set the bar low for yourself.
Set the bar so low.
Get your bar low so that you can step over it. Like you just need to be able to work that consistency into your life and set the barrier so low that you can just like, I'm just going to touch this, or I'm just going to show up to class. I'm just going to make that 2 days a week my priority, or my 3 days a week. And it's like that's just, even if it's less effort than you want, or a pared down version from what you want, or whatever, the consistency is everything.
Well, and that's what's so great about like that Wendler cycle, right? It's 7 5s and 3s. There's like no fanciness to it whatsoever, but it's incredibly effective.
Oh yeah.
I've been doing so well on this program. And when I first started weightlifting on my own between coaching sessions, that was the same format that I used. So it's feeling really full circle right now, which is kind of cool, because at that time I was coaching like I can't even remember how many hours I was coaching because I was working at 3 gyms, if you can imagine.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of the norm.
Yeah.
You either own a gym or you work at 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah.
Or it's your part-time gig.
Or if you're lucky, you work at one gym and it's Nike. Yeah, that was a sweet gig. Yeah. Wow. Well, which is funny about that is I used to complain that I lived in my car because I would have to commute from gym to gym, like all over Portland or all over Seattle. And interestingly, even working on the Nike campus, I would still have to drive from one part of campus to the next because the gyms were like always on the perimeters from each other.
Yeah.
So like Serena Williams was like on the north side and Bo Jackson was on the south side. And sometimes my appointments would be so close together that I couldn't just like run across campus. That was such a fun time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still get like little memories from my Google Photos every now and then. Like, that was so cool.
It was cool.
Yeah. I was very emotional like the first day that I coached there. There's like a playlist that I listen to when I'm lifting, at least like during competitions. And one of the songs there was a song that was playing in the locker room while I was getting ready for my first shift. And I was just like, feeling it.
The saunas were nice too.
Well, it's funny because
good perks for your man.
Glad you took advantage of that because I never did. I had really felt like I had made it having that job, but I think I feel more like I have made it having my own gym.
Yeah. It's your baby now.
Oh, yeah. You're all my babies. I don't remember what exactly we were talking about this week, but we, often talk about the gym and our members like over coffee and breakfast or dinner, just kind of bragging about like how you all did that day, or let me show you this video of this cool thing that happened.
Or before and afters of the squat depths.
Yeah, I'm excited for you to post those. Those were so cool. And I think this is known and I think this is felt by our current members. Prospects might not know this about the nature of working with a coach. We deeply care about our members. Deeply. Oh gosh. Talk amongst yourselves. I'm just so proud of everybody. This is such a great week that we had for so many reasons. I mean, there's always reasons week to week. But I hope people know that like what really keeps us in the game this long, like you and I have been talking about some of our coaching history today already, and we're looking back like 15 years now. And the reason that I love coaching so much is like the close view that I get of the very best in people and being a part of that support to get them there.
And part of the best in people is also seeing the struggle, like this, you know,
Part of it.
We see people all the time who have, I mean, this is just true everywhere you look in life. So this is not trying to single anybody out or offend anybody, but sometimes we see people quit on themselves.
Yeah.
And it feels really terrible because we feel like we failed them when they quit.
Absolutely.
We take a lot of responsibility for that. So it's not just a business retention. It's like, I really care. I really don't want you to quit because I know this is so good for you. If you would just trust me enough to get through this phase.
Well, can I just point in on what you had said?
Yeah.
It's the trust, right? It feels like there's a lack of trust when that happens, that like, I'm not going to take you to where you want to go.
Yeah.
And it's hard to not take that personally sometimes.
But the inverse of that is that for the majority of people we work with, we get to see them overcome those. And we get to see, like you said the other day, there are people in our gym who have been with us for, they're coming up on their first year or 2 or 3 years, who have had far greater challenges than some of those people who we have seen quit.
Yes.
And they stuck it out. They stayed here, and with physical challenges, emotional challenges, family issues.
Well, and that's exactly what it takes.
Like all these things, and they still show up, and it's like so incredible, and we feel so proud of them, and what they're doing, because we know that if they can overcome that, they can stick with this for life, and it's going to be life changing forever. You were talking about history, and it's so cool. I see this gal once in a while will pop up on my Instagram feed from her gym that she's posting videos from her gym that she owns. And I introduced her to CrossFit like 15, 17 years ago. And now she owns her own affiliate.
That's cool.
And is like kicking ass. And she's got like 3 kids, and, they've got the family and everything, but the gym looks amazing, and it's really fun to just know that along the way we're planting seeds that will probably grow into things that are going to outlast us and our relationship and our time here.
Yes.
And like all that stuff. This is like life changing.
Oh yeah. I tell people all the time that I hope everything you learn in here you take elsewhere. And so, when people have quit our gym, our hope is that they just moved on to something else.
Yeah.
Right?
Always.
Like that.
Yeah.
I would be so happy to hear that, I found another trainer in the county that is a better fit for me, or it works better for my schedule, because a schedule can seriously get in the way of your abilities to do much of anything for yourself. But if we hear that they're quitting completely and just stopping everything that you worked for up until this point, I mean, we can only speak from our own experience and working with thousands of other people of what a hole that is to get out of again.
Yeah.
It's hard. And I'm just going to throw this out there. I was debating whether or not I would bring it up, but my hope is that if you do quit our gym, please don't ghost us. The reason I say that is I know that there are a lot of reasons, whether it is us or it's you. There's a lack of conversation sometimes where people Irish goodbye the gym. And, if we were living in Portland or Seattle, I can see how that would be totally easy to do or to get away with. But living here, what's special about living here is that your neighbors, you see them at the grocery store, we see each other at restaurants, you go to parties and you find out everybody's who everybody's friends are. And I hate that people feel like they can't talk to me because they've quit my gym.
Mm-hmm.
Please don't do that.
Yeah.
It's so not necessary to close that door. completely. Whether you decide you want to come back to the gym in the future or if you just want to like be my neighbor.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. There's
I hope
never,
I said that in the way that I really mean it.
yeah, there's never any animosity or resentment or judgment even. Like we're not out here judging people. We want the best for people. And so
Yeah.
sometimes we feel bad. Like if you had to quit, we feel like we let you down. Like we really want to help you, but that doesn't mean we don't want to talk to you when we're out and about or, at an event here in town. We'd still love to see you and check in on you. And when you talk about like people going on to other trainers, that's not a resentment or jealousy thing. That's a relief. When I see a past client and then I hear like, oh, they're training with such and such now, I'm like, oh, good. I'm so glad that they're doing, like they're still in it. They're still doing it. Like I would much rather that than they're at home doing nothing. That's what breaks my heart, is to see people make progress and then just pull out of it completely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't feel like you have to tell us about anything that you're up to. We also have lives outside of the gym. So don't feel like you have to tell us what's happening in that part of your life if you don't want to. But like, yeah.
Yeah.
Please just don't just drop off.
Yeah. And there's a tendency sometimes for people to, it's small talk. It's our business. So that's what people are going to talk to us about, which is understandable. But there's also like a tendency for sometimes people to meet us out and about in a restaurant and be like, oh, I should do this or that. And it's
like prospects or people who want to be prospects or something.
Or even people who haven't been in the gym, who quit, like it can be both ways. Either people who have not trained with us ever or people who have trained with us but are not currently. And they kind of say like, oh, I know I need to do this or that. And I'm like, that's your life.
You do what you want to do. Yeah.
You don't have to, you don't owe me an explanation about anything. Like it's fine. Like I want you to be happy and I want everybody to be happy, successful and healthy and have great relationships. And you don't need to explain your gym situation to me.
Well, let me just put it into, I always, when I get myself kind of stuck socially, I often ask like you or Alyssa, like, how should I say that? Like, what should that sound like? Because I think if left to me, I'm going to say either way too much or a whole bunch of things that are ineffective. And so, I'm just going to like throw it out there that if you do find yourself in that situation with us, just say, it didn't work for me, or it wasn't like the right fit for me, or thank you so much, but I've decided to do something else. Like those would be great choices.
Yeah.
And we get it. We totally get it.
Yeah.
I just don't want to be like ignored in public. It's really, really painful. Yeah. But enough about that. I was thinking about this video that I had seen yesterday, which was like a perfect fit for what we're talking about today. And it was somebody doing a ring muscle up. And they had, try to imagine this, they had a band on each ring and they were like tied around a short, like foam roller. Not as long as our foam rollers that are in the annex and not as short as the foam rollers that are in the gym, but somewhere between that.
They make a 2-footer. Yeah.
Yes. And so you like pull yourself, you're holding onto the rings and you swing your legs over each side of the foam roller so that you're essentially sitting on it. So you're like in a chair.
Like a swing.
With bands to help you swing up and over. And I was like, what the hell is this?
What's the foam roller for? I'm trying to picture this.
It's supporting your weight. Like you have something to sit on and you're suspended with these bands that are attached to it.
But why not
rings, bands, foam roller.
Okay, but why? I'm still struggling to see what the purpose of the foam roller is, because you could just do that with just bands, right?
I don't know.
You could just sit in the band.
I'm going to look it up. But
I think it's an example of people trying to be creative to get clicks.
Yes. And that is what I really wanted people to be wary of. Like, just as you start to see more and more about fitness stuff, it's just like having a discerning eye for what is new, innovative, or just a different way of thinking about something, or what is clickbait.
And it's funny because I've seen some things too where people are trying to be creative, and kudos. I mean, I also like to make up exercises. I've done that since I became a trainer 20 years ago. I still make shit up, but my hope is to make up things that are going to be effective. And what's funny is a lot of times we see things online that it's not necessarily bad. It's just like if you got 1 hour to spend in the gym, that little fancy setup thing is probably just not the best investment of your time.
Well, and I'm also looking at this like sure, this person's really fit, but like this is not a progression that I would put any old human on. This looks dangerous as hell. Here, click this first video so you can see what I'm talking about.
If you send this to me, I'll post a link to in the description so that people listening to this podcast can get a.
Your face is so funny. My hope is they're playing around and not like, here's how you clean up your transitions in a muscle up or something.
Yeah. This almost looks to me like in order to do this setup and actually perform the muscle up that way she is, you'd already be able to just do one without all the dangly bits in the way.
Isn't that so? I just feel like getting into position on its own is like such a
That's funny.
dangerous game to play. And they called it a muscle up hack. Like, nah. I think you're just playing, which is fine. Yeah. Call it what it is.
It looks a little dangerous in the fact that if you started to lose your grip, you would end up head first. In a regular ring muscle up, if you start to lose your grip, your feet are under you. And that would tie up your feet on the way down.
I don't even want to know.
Yeah, so
I'm sure you all have also come across gym fail videos, and I feel like a lot of them are shit like this.
Yeah.
It's not
a lot of people.
It's not from like anything that we are performing here. It's like all of the fancy flair that people add on to what otherwise could be pretty straightforward.
Yeah. There are people out like Squat University.
Do you know the name of that guy?
I really should, but
I don't know his name either, but I've been watching his videos forever.
He's had that handle for so long, I forget. I've heard it, but I just forget his name. It's kind of like the beard, the best you can be guy. Like he's
great. It's great branding.
It's great branding.
But what's your name?
His business is called Kinstretch, but I forget the dude's name because it's like the beard guy.
Beard guy.
But anyway, the Squat University is usually putting out a lot of interesting stuff, and he's a physical therapist, so his knowledge is very deep, and he works with a ton of high-profile athletes and all this kind of stuff. So his content is quality and it's good, but I think... I've talked to other people who are kind of almost as famous as him, who are influencers online, and there's a huge pressure to have to keep making content in order to keep your job. Like your business depends on putting out fresh content. And so
that's hard.
I see a lot of pressure, I think, on people like that, or Kelly Starrett. Love these guys. Like I follow them. I eat their content
you eat what now?
All the time. Yeah. Like I think it's good stuff, but I think sometimes it can get really deep into the minutia weeds because they have that pressure of continuing to put out content all the time. And so it's not that they are teaching anything bad, but it's just like, this is a really niche thing. And if you have back pain and you want to try this thing, maybe give it a shot for a couple of weeks, but don't feel like they are offering you foundational things for you to build an overall fitness for yourself, because it's usually addressing like one injury, one instability, one thing like on a joint specific for a person. So a lot of their content is stuff you're not probably ever going to try. And if you do, it's probably just something to try temporarily, see how it goes and address that one little issue you have, but don't look at them as like fitness programs.
Sure. Well, you touch on something kind of interesting, and that's the pressure to produce. So true, right? You and I can relate to that to some degree, like maybe when it comes into programming, but we also have this, like part of our methodology is to repeat things over and over again to compare changes in progress. So that kind of works for us in that way of not having to continuously be creative to a point where it might not be beneficial anymore. And I think that we have also watched Greg Everett and Squat University and Beard the Best You Can Be and Kelly Starrett, we've also seen them over like the course of a decade where we've seen their expertise deepen.
Yeah.
And a lot of those guys, those were all guys, weren't they? I'm going to put Megan Gallagher in there just so that we've got some lady representation, who work with actual clients. That's a really important one to me to kind of seek out is like, do you work with actual humans?
Yeah.
There are a lot of influencers, which influencer is not a bad word. There are great influencers. And then there's other influencers who I think might take advantage of their platforms. But if that is a person who has been fit their whole lives and has never worked with a client before, then they might not be the right source to work with you or for you to take advice from them. And so I think that that's something to really pay attention to is like, does this person have like practical application? Are they working with other bodies other than their own? And do they have a deepening level of expertise, or is their continuous content starting to be like kind of grabbing straws or shock value or whatever, like hokey stuff to like get your attention?
Yeah. And there's also just the whole don't believe everything you see on the internet thing. I mean, you bring up a really good point, which we've talked about a little bit in the past, that like being fit or being a great athlete does not make you a great coach. Also, there are great coaches who are not great athletes. And those are just two different skill sets completely. It's not a do as I say, not as I do situation. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that one is not a prerequisite for the other. In fact, oftentimes the best athletes are not the best coaches, because a lot of times the best athletes, the best, I'm not talking about like pretty good, the best athletes are often genetically gifted people who are less prone to injuries and more robust and have better body composition naturally, and they work their ass off. I'm not trying to diminish their accomplishments, but to be the best, you kind of have to have everything going for you.
I also want to add something to that. If like athlete versus coach, whoever spends the most time coaching is probably going to be a better coach.
Right. Yeah.
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 But if it kind of is something that if you've never been overweight, if you've never been injured for a long period of time, if you've never been living outside of the gym for a long period of time, so, some people went from high school to college sports to like being a professional athlete or an influencer or whatever, and they've never even experienced what it's like to not be in the gym culture. And so how
do you bring people in?
Yeah. I guess my point is just as a specific example, I used to have a neighbor who was like in their 50s, and we're just going to pause for a second, just a second. Okay, we're back. So where was I? So we were talking about people, like, how do you know who to listen to online? Mm-hmm. I'd like to pick your brain about that for a second. But before I do, I had this anecdotal story, this N of one that I can share with you. I used to have a neighbor who was an air traffic controller. And so by his own admission, please don't be offended if you're an air traffic controller, but by his own admission, he sat a lot at work. He was just a seated job.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something so much meaner.
Well, it could be because this guy was a little off, but he drank coffee and like Coke all day long or all night long, depending on the shift. Seated, high stress environment, but also just a lot of sedentary. The only thing he did for fitness was pick up basketball twice a week at the YMCA.
Oh, no.
But the thing is that he was in his 50s and he was ripped. He had, sinewy muscles and a 6-pack washboard stomach. But my point is, he was very gifted genetically. You see that sometimes. There are some people who just look super, super fit. And I know this dude was not fit. He smoked cigarettes. He drank soda pop. He had a seated desk job. Like, if we're
not all that lucky.
If we really put him, if we really took a holistic view of it, this guy is not healthy. But if he had an Instagram profile, you would have never known it because he looked shredded.
Yeah.
He had the genetics for it. And so it's just kind of a thing I wanted to put out there is just cautionary. Like just because someone's got abs doesn't mean they know what they're talking about, first of all. and
abs definitely don't equate fitness either.
Yeah. Abs don't mean fit necessarily. Often they do. I mean, the reason we associate it with fitness is that it's hard to achieve. And so it often is correlated, but not always. Sometimes people just have really good genes, or maybe they are super fit. They still might not know what they're talking about because they have the genes to kind of like do things wrong and still succeed, if you will.
Or they've got a runway built up where perhaps before this career took place, this person was incredibly active, and to be able to maintain that doesn't take as much as it would be for those of us who have to like get there.
Yeah.
So to begin with.
It makes me curious though, if you were to give people some cues on who to listen to online, like how do you and I kind of recognize BS when we see it because of our experience as coaches?
I feel like we notice it so quickly too.
Yeah.
It does not take long to like sniff it out.
It's kind of intuitive, but what would you say are some things to watch for if you're not a coach, as far as like what's cool and what's just silly, or who seems trustworthy versus who just looks good?
I feel like that's hard to identify. What keeps coming up to me is like something completely different. Like, how do you kind of sniff out coaches in person? But this could be applied to people online. If they have an answer for everything.
Yeah.
That's something I'm always like really, what's the word? Suspicious of. If somebody has an answer for everything I ask, if they don't, we don't know everything and we haven't done everything, and don't pretend like you did, because I'll know. That's one thing.
Yeah. I was just thinking of the people that we trust online. So, you were talking about Greg Everett, Kelly Starrett.
I'll bring up another one, Hunter Elam. She is somebody that I actually was seeking out coaching myself. She does nutrition and athletic training remotely, and it's kind of hard to find somebody who does both. And she comes from a competitive weightlifting background. She's not doing it anymore. She's got kind of this whole angle of like life after sport for people who are competitive athletes, which is, I'm part of that market, like have been trying to seek out something like that for a long time. And so I think her having such a deep background in weightlifting and really understanding like what supplementary training could look like that isn't weightlifting itself, because she understands the modality and the defining features so well. To me, that felt trustworthy. Yeah. And honestly, she doesn't really put out a lot of like speaking content. She just puts out her workouts. And I've actually learned, I had her app. I was like one of her beta testers. And there were a lot of things that I carried over into sport for our youth program that I actually really liked, because like I said, it's a way of kind of like training the same things that I would want from weightlifting. But if I'm working with kids that I get to see very sparingly or just through the summer or a month at a time, that it would be safe and approachable. So, I mean, I usually try to test pilot that stuff myself. When I felt like I had more bandwidth to train, I would always try to layer in like, well, what's the thing on the internet that I saw this week that I want to try? And sometimes those things would stick with me for years. And that would be, if I think to come back to it over and over again, then I'm like, all right, that's pretty credible.
Yeah. Well,
but if I try it and I'm like, this is stupid.
But you and I also have a base of knowledge that kind of lets us parse out what looks like it might be useful or what's not, based on our understanding. But one thing I can kind of point to that's like, if you look at a lot of influencer content, there's usually a big promise, like, finally fix your shoulder, finally fix your back, and with this exercise, this is the unlock, this is the thing. And compare that to like Squat University, when he says, if you have low back pain, when you do XYZ, it might be ABC.
The language is so different.
This.
Yeah.
And so he's not promising a fix all for everybody who has back pain. It's like, maybe try this. If these are the circumstances and this is what you're feeling, it might be this.
Yeah, he's like offering his findings based off of real work with real people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Versus a lot of influencers that I see that are just like, this thing is finally going to be the thing that cures everything for you. So that's a big warning sign, which may seem obvious when I'm explaining it now, but it's really compelling when you're scrolling and you see this.
And you're in pain.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, my knee hurts. And then all of a sudden this thing is like, fix your knees with this amazing routine. It makes you kind of want to try it.
Well, we can also be a great screening tool, right? Like I've had people bring accounts to me and be like, is this legit? Is this a good person to follow? And I'm like, I'm happy to give my 2 cents. There was actually this one guy that both Joel and I like came across kind of at the same time, who I really love. He's a CrossFit coach, and he really influenced how I've started tackling double under faults with our members. He just has some like different ways of speaking about the same things that we already do. You know, sometimes the content is the same and the way it's packaged is different. And this particular coach is great with the packaging. He speaks in terms that are like really easy to understand. And I really appreciate that. And so I've been kind of using that as a guide for some things to just try out some new language, because it always is about how it lands and how it's received by the athlete, right? So I've just tried to break out of maybe some of my defaults because I need new material, you know? We always do.
Do you?
I mean, when you and I were talking about weightlifting camp, I'm going to weightlifting camp in September for a week.
It's official now.
It is official. I've booked a place and I've put this off for 2 years. There's a few reasons why I want to go, but one of the things that I find to be the most compelling about going is to be able to coach weightlifting in a different way or in a deeper way or something, because I'm going to learn so much as an athlete. And that's always been the point for me, is like, what have I internalized and how can I give it back or pay it forward?
Yeah. You'll be working with the best.
I know.
I'm excited for you.
I'm a little scared.
That's good.
Yeah.
Being a little scared is good. Put you in the right frame of mind.
Well, I'm not scared of the weightlifting. I'm like scared to be on my own for a week. When was the last time I did that?
You've become wifed up.
I have. I warned you about this.
I know.
And here we are. I'm excited. I'm really excited. Thank you for helping me make it happen.
Yeah, I'm excited for you. So if anybody wonders if I'm dragging ass mid-September, just realize I'm the only coach here for a week. Maybe. We'll see. Well, the team might be a little bit freed up to help.
Yeah. Change in season goes far.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But I'd like to get back to a little bit about just for your usefulness of what you might look for to test out things that we see on the internet or trends in fitness in general. It doesn't even have to be an influencer situation. It could just be like, right now, High Rocks is like on the rise and more people are hearing about it. And so that's more of like a fitness trend, if you will.
Have you taken the time to look into it yet?
Not honestly, no, because to me, it just looked like diet CrossFit. And I was like, there's already CrossFit games. Like, why reinvent the wheel and do it in a lesser way? And the reason I say lesser,
do you think it's so successful because it's been repackaged?
Yeah. It's just a branding thing. It's just totally a branding thing. It's just, so that's what I was going to say is that I'm not hugely experienced with it, so I don't mean to knock it for anybody who's involved.
We'll Google it.
It's cool, but I have seen competitions where it apparently didn't have a lot of standards as far as the movement quality. And they were letting people get away with things that they would not be able to do in a CrossFit competition, which is often
a CrossFit class.
Which is funny because CrossFit is often criticized for like having low standards. And it's like, well, and High Rocks isn't? Because I saw this specific example I'm talking about was wall balls in a
I was going to say the same thing.
in a competition. And it's kind of like if they got the ball up there, every rep counted, whether the squat was there or not. Like they were doing half depth squats that were not consistent range of motion. And I'm like, well, how is this a competition? If the person next to you is squatting below parallel and you are not, but your reps count too, then that's not a competition.
Honestly, I think
on equal footing.
I think this is CrossFit's fault, like CrossFit HQ's fault. There's been a huge callback to bring regionals and sectionals back. They don't do that anymore. So like all the regular people don't have any competitive outlet anymore unless the affiliates are putting on events, which, we're not a CrossFit affiliate, but like, could you imagine putting on a competition? Like, we don't have the time for that.
Well, we don't have the time or facilities for that.
Exactly. So I think CrossFit leaving that huge gaping hole open is what allowed High Rocks to fill the space.
Yeah. That and some negative branding. It was
well,
kind of a perfect
for
storm.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But doesn't that make some sense in terms of like who that's accessible to?
Yeah.
Yeah. If it's the open to the games and nothing in between, then there's nothing for the rest of us to aim for
and participate in.
Yeah. What's the point?
Yeah.
I hate that they did that.
But what I was trying to get to though is that there are some trends that are
popular.
There's fitness fads, and then there's fitness trends, and there's things that are kind of like garbage, and then there's things that are like, oh, that's new and interesting. So what's the difference between those? That's what I'm trying to get out of you is like, what would you look for if you saw something online that looks like, oh, that looks legit, even though I've never seen it before? I would like to try that and maybe offer it to our clients. That looks silly.
I'll say, I'll just bring it right back to the beginning of what you had mentioned when you first discovered CrossFit. Wow, these people who seemingly were unlikely are incredibly capable. They're capable. I think about that all the time when it comes to like my own fitness journey and my like, current state with being a tired business owner is like, I've actually become a very capable person doing this kind of training. I feel like I can run across the street if I was needing to, or I'd be able to jump down from a high surface to the floor without injuring myself, or I could, go do some like physical activity with my friends without getting injured or worried if I could even do it. And so to me, that's the thing that I'm looking for. We see like fitness influencers or like fitness, models who like, I don't know if you remember this, but I think it was Wodify or like one of those platforms, which was ironic as hell, that the opening screen when you would open up the software was like a fitness model, overhead squatting. I'm doing air quotes, overhead squatting, not to full depth with likely fake weights.
Yeah.
I see that a lot in like fitness equipment commercials where like the people they hire like don't move well. And it's what the going on here?
I saw this. I should have saved it. I should have just kept it and put it up on the wall in my gym. Because I remember where I was at the exact moment. And one of my coaches brought in a men's health magazine. Men's Health. I mean, it's a pretty big publication. It was kind of a major deal at the time, back when magazines were still kind of a big deal. And in Men's Health, they had this like strength routine, and they were describing the deadlift, but the photo was somebody with the barbell in the front rack position, as if they had just cleaned it. And I'm like,
blame it on the editing.
Yeah, but still, like, that should be like the final pass should be legit in a magazine that is specifically a fitness magazine. Like, this is supposed to be an authority for people to follow, and it was like
embarrassing.
Yeah. So it's hard to know what to trust, but I think you're right in that before you kind of buy into whether a post or an influencer or a fitness trend is legit, maybe look at the results from it. So like, what are the people who are involved in this able to do? So that's one example. The other example might be their longevity. And I hate to do that because it makes it really hard for new people to break out. But Kelly Starrett, we have been following for years and years. I think I first heard about Kelly Starrett back in 2007.
Yeah.
And he's still at it. Squat University, that dude's been around for a long time. You and I have been sharing his content for years. Same with.
Can I just say something controversial?
Everybody that we've mentioned is just, they have some history and some staying power, and you know that they have a lot of clients behind backing up what they're doing. What's your controversial take? What's your hot take?
I was going to say that I feel like Squat University's content has gotten like too fancy for me.
Yeah, well, that's what I was talking about. Like, there's this pressure.
The pressure to continue
to produce content.
It used to be like so simple, straight to the point, kind of a la Greg Everett, and that's why I will always refer people to Greg Everett. Is like, there is no fluff. There is nothing extra that you don't need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because
it's just teetering in that way, and I find myself just not stopping when I'm doing scrolling as much.
Yeah, I remember following Greg Everett when he was when Catalyst was a affiliate, like a CrossFit affiliate, and so it was way back, in, like again this 2007 era, is when I first heard about him, and it's funny because his content, I think, was. Because the technology at the time was not as easy. Like this is pre-iPhone or right about the time that the iPhone was released, the first iPhone. So taking video, people kind of forget. It was not like it is today. Like you could maybe take videos with your phone, your cell phone. Some of those had built in, but they were like
real crummy,
real bad, like real grainy and choppy, and probably had no audio, and like it was pretty bad. So his content put out, I think, was out of a necessity to be able to do it. It was short and concise and like a 30-second demonstration of what this exercise looked like. And he started building up this catalog. And it's funny because I think it was born out of necessity early, but he stuck with that. Like he's still putting out content that's very
digestible,
short, concise, one movement, like here's this one fix, and it's really cool.
I have noticed that his posting lately is a lot more nuanced. It's like the teeny tiny things that can make a big difference because he's already taught us how to snatch and clean and jerk at this point.
Yeah.
So that is interesting. I have been eating up a lot of content of I won't be able to pronounce their name, of a Chinese weightlifting coach. That's been great. It's been really, really good. It's not really like organized. It's just like they're just like working with their athlete, and they just like pull out their camera really quick and be like, this is what I'm fixing. That's been really cool. And like, hello, Chinese weightlifting, like that's going to be legit. So, yeah, I think, we were talking about Wendler, and you were just talking about like pre iPhone, or like, I'm thinking about when I got started was like pre-Instagram. And so, the strength cycles that I was looking for were just things that I had heard in the gym. Wendler, Outlaw, Catalyst. Those were just some names that were being thrown around that like still really hold up well. It's like you were saying, there's no need to reinvent the wheel, but I can understand that people want to have a say in this market, or they want to have an influence on this market. And I don't know. I don't know enough about other industries. People always like, I'll tell people in the gym sometimes, I'm like, I got to tell you, like, I don't really have a lot of other skills than this, to be honest. This is what I've been doing for the last 20 years. So I don't have a lot to say about much else. And so I would venture to guess that this is a challenge that is all over industries, whether it's like sewing or ranching or painting, that it's like there are going to be all these like really cool ways of trying new things, but it's like we're always going to go back to the basics and build off of that.
Well, we've even experienced this.
Sometimes things get pulled out of thin air that are, it's like, what?
Yeah.
Like that. that thing I showed you on my phone. Like, what?
Silly.
Like, what even compelled you to try that?
There is an example that I remember when we were first moved to the ranch. We were getting sent a lot of things from other people. At least I was, from my friends.
Like previous clients and stuff?
No, my friends would send me like gardening tips and ranching tips
Oh.
and chicken housing that's more efficient and all this stuff. And it's like, well, that looks good on Instagram, but I guarantee you, if you throw your potatoes out on top of the soil and cover them with hay, it's just going to be a weed patch. Like, that's not going to work. Like, they made it look in the video as if you just bury your potatoes in hay and then leave it, and the hay keeps the weeds down and the potatoes grow under, and then you don't have to dig them up because they're just right on top of the soil. And I'm
what
like,
if you live on the slope that's like windy as shit?
Yeah, well, my point is that the post is bullshit. Like, it's pretty much staged. You can tell that.
I wonder if that morel propagating thing was staged too.
Yeah, it could be, because
that was really cool.
Yeah.
And we bought everything for it. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
We bought the buckets, the aeration system.
We only tried it once.
Is that what it's called? Aeration?
Yeah. But
no, we didn't do it at all.
Well, I put some...
You're supposed to make like a slurry.
Yeah.
Oh, you did it.
I put it in the corner of the garden under that tree on that end, and nothing happened. But... yeah.
Did you guys know that we tried homesteading for a little bit?
I think homesteading is a little bit of a strong term.
It was COVID times. We thought we were going to need to trade our cars in for horses. Do you remember that? Do you remember having those conversations?
It was a potential, yeah.
Right. Yeah. It was so unknown. It was such a weird time.
It was a weird time.
Such a weird time. And here we are, running a gym again.
Yeah. Well, do you have anything else you wanted to add about this? I think
I did, and it's a little bit unrelated, but I wanted a chance to talk about something practical on each episode. And we talked about this with our coaches this week too, about how to add weight in any given strength session. I know that's real broad, but I would like to just give some really clear instructions on what we want to see, what is safe, and what not to do. Because some of y'all already know what those are, but some of y'all don't. Does that sound worthy of going into?
I mean, yeah, let's break it down real quick. So when you're doing a strength session, regardless of what the lift is.
Why don't we pick something we did in Rat Pack this week, or what we're going to do in Peak Fit this week? Let's pick something.
Yeah, we can. But I just, regardless of what it is, it's sets and reps, and it has rest in between. Like, this is the foundation of strength training, is a progressive overload system where you're pushing the limits. And if you're pushing the limits, you have to get there gradually. You can't just go in cold and pick up a heavy barbell. So
unless you're me. No,
if we're talking about deadlifts, for instance, sumo deadlifts or deadlifts, and if it's a week of 5s or 3s, we might be trying to push the weight up a little higher than the last time that we did 5s or 3s. We can't PR every day that we come into the gym, but we can sort of test the limits, because that when you lift a weight that you can lift for 5 times 5 sets, and you feel like you could have done 15 reps, then it's the only time that's effective is if you're injured and you need to scale it back just to get movement in. There is benefit to movement. But if you always train that way, you're going to really blunt the effects of actually getting strong. Mm-hmm. You have to challenge yourself. You have to get to the point where you get that last rep and you're like, whew, I didn't know if that was going to happen or not. And I able to maintain it.
Challenging, but doable.
Yeah. So you're able to keep everything together. You're good form. You're moving well. You have quality. Nothing hurts. And you get the job done, but it was kind of like it took everything out of you in order to accomplish that. So that's where we're trying to get to the best stimulus. So just with that as the foundation now, in order to get there safely, the mistake that we see.
So this is the don'ts list.
The don'ts list. The mistake that we often see is people maybe start at half of their working max, and then they add 2 or 3 kilos and 2 or 3 kilos and 2 or 3 kilos. And then they only end up at the last set with maybe 65% of their max. And they realize that,
oh shit,
oh man, I could have done so much more. Let me just slap on 20 kilos here because I know I got that in me.
I'm just mad about it listening to it.
So that is a textbook what not to do. Because taking a big jump later in the cycle means that you have taken the largest increase in weight when you're already somewhat fatigued. So it goes beyond warm up and you start to get a little bit tired.
I can kind of see how maybe people would think like, oh, I'm warm now, so now I can challenge myself.
Yeah.
But that ain't right.
Yeah.
The thing is that this will shock the shiza out of your body if you have trained your brain and your body to take 2 or 3 kilo jumps. It knows what to expect. It knows how hard to work. But then if you surprise it with something that's like 10 times the amount or whatever, then it's unlikely that you're going to be able to maintain your good form because you've overloaded your body way too quickly.
Yeah. And I want to get back to another point about that too, besides just the danger factor. But I think I'll circle back around to it because maybe we'll talk about how to do it properly first. So
we already started the don'ts list.
Well, what else is there? Isn't that what you wanted to talk about? Was basically taking big jumps at the end.
Yeah, I would just say like jumps that are varied up and down. Like it's not meant to be a roller coaster. It's not like, oh, I've got 5 rounds of work with 20 push-ups and some rounds I'll do them all prescribed and some rounds I'll break it up into sets of 5 and the next round I'll do 2 sets of 10. Like this is not the arena to like experiment with things like that. Strength training should be intentional and a little tighter than that. So just kind of like doing whatever you feel like, not a good plan. I think it is good to go in with a plan, but you might have give yourself some opportunity to adjust as you go.
Yeah.
So would that be it for don'ts and adding weight? Oh, I've got one. How we load the barbell. I know that's something that you like to talk about.
Yeah. So proper loading. Let's go into proper loading. Probably should make a video of this so you can see what I'm talking about. But basically, if you always use the fewest number of plates on the bar to get to the weight that you're trying to load. So if you need 60 kilos on the bar, instead of a 20 kilo bar with stacks of 10s or stacks of 10s and 5s on the outside of that, it's the same weight. And that's the argument that people think is like, well, it's the same weight. What difference does it make? 60 kilos is 60 kilos. But from a coaching standpoint, and even from an athlete standpoint, the more individual plates you have on the bar, the more chances there are for a mistake. So if you have stacks of 10s and 5s and 2.5s and a 1 and 3 halves or whatever silliness is on there, we all have to stop and count up exactly what you have on the bar. Now, an experienced athlete and or coach can look at a bar that's properly loaded. And a lot of times, if it's properly loaded, I can tell you without having to stop and count the plates. I know that if there's 25s on a 20 kilo bar, I just know that those big plates mean 70. I don't have to stop and do the math. I just know big plates means 70. So it's a good place to start. So properly loading is safer in that way.
Yeah. Can we just say like why that's important to us as coaches?
Well, I can give you just a couple of examples of what happens in the dirty loading situation with lots of different plates is I've seen people hit accidental PRs with 20 kilos more than they thought they had on there.
I just got a text this weekend of a member who was like, I have to come clean. I did that.
Yeah. And it's always kind of a fun surprise. Like, oh, you did it. It looked good. Your form looked good. You're stronger than you thought you were.
Yeah.
But that is not an excuse to make that happen because that is a really bad idea because sometimes you can lift 1 or 2 and then you get a muscle strain and then you can't figure out why. And it's like, well, you accidentally took a huge jump because you didn't do the math right.
Yeah.
So that's one obvious kind of like danger situation. I have also seen I think it was in the same week. This happened 2 or 3 times where people had the bar unevenly loaded because there were so many plates on there that it was confusing with their workout partners. And so one person left a 2.5 off of one side on a shoulder press. So like that's 5 pounds on one side more than is on the other side.
Why are we talking in pounds?
Because I'm trying to get it to be relative. A 2.5 kilo.
Got it. Okay.
Plate,
I was like, wait, what?
A 2.5 kilo plate is like over 5 pounds.
Yeah. It's not. Yeah. That's important.
And so with one arm, like that's lopsided. And so they couldn't figure out why it was so hard to push out one side of the barbell. And it was like lopsided and crooked going up for 3 reps. And then we put it down and then I started like counting the number of plates on there. And I'm like, well, you just lifted, whatever it was, 23.5 kilos.
Yeah.
Because 2.5 was all on one side. So those are the obvious reasons. And second, just to wrap up, like as a coach, like I said, I can intuitively see what's on a properly loaded bar, or at least if I do have to count it up, it's faster because I know how to do it.
The 8 kilo bar is really hard for me.
The 8 kilo bar is. I'm starting to figure out like if we just get greens on there, then it's 10, and then it's a lot easier.
Or red's 13.
Yeah, but what that does also is it saves time in the gym, and it helps the coach you better because we know what you're lifting.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times I don't know what people are lifting because I don't have time to sit and do the complicated algebra that it takes to figure out what's on their bar with all these weird plate configurations.
Yeah. If you can help it, like every once in a while I'll walk up to a bar. I'm like, what the hell is this? What are you lifting?
Yeah.
I don't want to be at that point. The cool thing about our gym and the cool thing about the way that we've decided to run it is that we get to know you all so well. So we at least have like an idea of like what neighborhood you're lifting in, depending on the lift. And so it just allows us to like teach you better and to collaborate with you better if we can see what's happening clearly. I was going to say that there might be an exception when you are working with another person. But I always try to have the rule of like, you cannot have more than one set of any color of plates. Just because you're doing 2 kilo jumps every time doesn't mean you get to hoard all of the 1 kilo plates and add them every time.
Yeah.
You get one set. Like, y'all be spoiled if you think that like you get to hoard all those weights. If you think about like other places we've trained, there wasn't enough weight to go around sometimes. Yeah. So that you would have to like be on it. And so it's also that too. It's kind of a gym etiquette thing. If you're taking all those plates, you're taking them away from other people who need to use them too. So loading efficiently is also the loving thing to do.
Yes. The generous thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So to circle back around to how to increase weight set over set. The way I like to do it, and you can, please feel free to have your own way of explaining this. But
there's a lot of ways to talk about it, right?
Well, I always try to have a plan going in. Like you said, we're not just going to improvise as we go, but we are going to be willing to pivot if things don't feel right, or if you're just not feeling as strong as you thought you did that day. There's always the opportunity to change your plan. But having a plan ensures that you have some direction on where to go and what kind of jumps to take early on. And the way I do it, personally, and for most of my clients, is we figure out what the objective is today. Like if you're feeling 100% and it's a day that we're doing like 3 reps, and so you're trying to go for a new PR, or maybe at least the heaviest that we've done in the cycle so far, then we're going to look at that as a small percentage, not a huge PR. We're going to just not be greedy, even if you're feeling amazing. I'll just use an example of 100 kilos because the math is easy, but just know that this is true whether it's 12 kilos or 100. Let's say your goal for your last set is to hit 105. So that's a 5% increase over your previous attempts at this lift. I would load up the Train Heroic or your workout journal or whatever with the last set first. And I pre-fill that and I put 105. That's the goal. Now I want to creep up on that. So I might hit 100 before that, or 90 or 101 or 98 or something pretty close to that. It's kind of based on percentages. So 100 might be a bigger gap than if you have a 20 kilo max, then it might be 1 kilo, right?
Well, the format is the same.
Yeah. So 1 kilo on 20 is
You're
the same,
creeping up on it.
Is the same math as 5 kilos on 100. So just realize that when I'm talking about 5 kilos, it's relative. So I would pre-fill the last 3. So I'd be like 105, 100, 97 or something like that, or 95, so that there's small increments in those last few, and then bigger chunks for the first 2 or 3 sets to get you there. So it's like, okay, now we want to feel what 50 or 60% feels like before we even get down this road. And so that's their first one. Then we'll split the difference with that second set. So if we're starting the heavy sets at 95, then I might go something like 85 before that, 75 before that, and then maybe 60 before that. So now you've got 60% of your working max for most people on any given day that you're not injured is usually just doable all the time. So you can test it out. Then you've got 60, 75, 85. Then it's like 85, 90, 95, 100, like really small increments at the back end.
So you're talking about a tapering method,
Yeah.
right? Where the jumps vary, but they only decrease in weight.
Yeah, the heavier
they
you go,
never increase.
Yeah,
that is the important part. They
Yeah.
never bounce back up.
Yeah, so that the increments always decrease as you get heavier.
Yes.
Not the other way around. And I want to, before we move on to other approaches, I just want to give one example of why that's also effective long-term in training, because in that session, it's safer. Like you were talking about, there's no big shock to the system. Like, oh, it's been 5 kilo jump, 5 kilo, 5 kilo, 15 kilo. Like, whoa, like your body doesn't know how to handle that. But from a training volume perspective, if you do the math on, like Train Heroic will give you a summary at the end of your work of how much total weight you lifted. So if you do the math of your 5 sets that are, 3 reps each, that's 15 reps altogether. And if you do the math of adding what each of those reps were by adding individually by the weight. So the total weight that you moved in the session is what I'm trying to get at. If you build up with larger increments in the beginning and then have heavier sets at the end that are really close to each other, versus the opposite of that, taking small jumps in the beginning and then a big jump at the end, you will be lifting more total weight by far in that one session. You will have moved more total weight than if you had done it the other way, even if you end up with the same set at the end.
Yes, that's huge, and so, not something we really talk about much.
Yeah, and so with volume of workouts, and we talk about consistency a lot, consistency. But in strength training, you can break this down. And one of my favorite coaches for this, I had his name, and as soon as I said favorite coaches, Westside Barbell. Dang it. It'll come back to me. Anyway.
It's not Rob Orlando, is it?
No, Westside Barbell. He's passed away now, but anyway, he's super geeky scientific about this. Like he charts out volume over weeks, years, like total weight lifted, the velocity of the bar. Like he's geeking out on all these different aspects of what actually gets results. And volume wins. I mean, volume wins every time. And so even
it's
if
the same on that pyramid
reps,
that we talked about recently about like cardio kind of being at the base, like your work capacity being at the base. It's the same conversation in weightlifting terms or in strength training terms.
So just before we move on to just to tie up that point, if you get more volume on that workout and you lift 20% more weight, now times 52 weeks of training. You have moved tons, literally tons and tons and tons more weight that year. Yeah. If that's always your method versus the haphazard, just throw weight on the bar kind of thing. And that makes a massive difference in how strong you get.
Yeah, that's something that I've actually had a little bit of a gripe with in Olympic weightlifting. There are some lifters or coaches that will kind of prioritize PRs on the platform and kind of like skipping all the steps to have like good quality and consistency in their performances and are just kind of like Hail Marying it and like good with getting 2 out of 6 lifts that day. It's like, no, go for all 6 for 6. Like, I understand that there's kind of like a showcase element to competition, but like, I will always prioritize a 6 for 6 day than a PR on a 1 or 2 out of 6 day. You know what I mean? In terms of like the quality of that athlete. I mean, they're different things to prioritize.
I'm just trying to think of like, it's also a competition. So if you want to win, sometimes you have to just try to PR in order to stay in the fight against your competition.
I would say this is it's just a bias that I have, right? And it's the way that I compete as well. So hot take. Okay, so that was the taper method. Now when I've been doing this with Rat Pack a lot lately because now we've got like 2 full waves of our most recent programming done, right? We've gone 2 times through 7, 5s, and 3s. So what I'd like for us to start doing is like, all right, let's look at that data on the days that you've done 7s, on the days that you've done 5s, on the days that you've done 3s. What are the patterns in terms of the weight jumps that we're seeing that you feel comfortable with? Oh, on 7s, I feel pretty good taking 5-kilogram jumps. I'm able to maintain that pretty well. I know for me personally, when it comes to the 3s, I can take like 10-kilo jumps, but I have a very different strategy when I've got higher volume that day. So the consistent jumps, right? Like I'm just going to stick to 5 kilograms as long as I can, whether that is all the way through the sets or, you know, I might have to appeal to the taper method. But that is another way of going about your weight jumps. When I tell people or when they ask me like, well, what can I jump? I'm like, you can either match that
or less.
Yep. So it's the matching each time. That would be another way of going about it, where it's just consistent all the way through. The important thing, though, is that you likely will have to start a little bit heavier in order to nudge that weight forward.
Or just add in a couple warm-up sets that you're not really counting.
Right.
Yeah. As working sets. And that brings me to a third method, which is a linear progression. So in that case, you're going to warm up and get to, say, 80% of your working max as efficiently as you can. So 3 to 4 sets to get up to 80 and then maintain the same weight and see if you can lift the same weight.
Yeah. That's probably the least used in our programs. I see it in Barbell Club. We do it a lot.
Yeah. But if you're hanging...
But it's to appeal to that same thing that you were talking about, total weight moved.
Yeah. And if you can hang out in the 85% range of your working max for multiple sets, that is extremely productive work.
I think that's an important one. And we will see it at the end of the Rat Pack cycle when we prescribe the percentages. Not only does this encourage consistency of the quality of your lift, which we will always be in favor of, but I also think it does this really important thing that is going to sound probably not so fun to a lot of you, which is like, you're not meant to PR every day you come in here. And just know that there's going to be a day where like, that's not going to happen no matter how hard you try. Yeah. Like there is just a point where like, we are not afforded that kind of, that quick progress.
Yeah.
And I think it's an important lesson to like pull the reins in every once in a while.
Yeah, I've been mentioning this in class lately, and part of it's because of the maturity of our gym. Like we're in our third and a half, 4th year now.
4th.
And we have some people who have been here since the earliest days up in our garage. And so I'm having to explain to the newer folks, like even, and the more experienced folks is like, now that we have this difference, like people who are just getting started and people who have been here for years, just know that you probably will PR almost every time you come into the gym the first year you come in, unless you're like already a gym rat when you get here. But if you're new to this, you are going to PR a lot in the beginning. Don't expect that to be a forever thing. Like that's your first year. Then
enjoy it while it lasts.
And then it tapers. And then the next year, the second year, you can PR frequently, but not every time. And then by year 3, those PRs are hard won and few and far between. And that's just normal.
Well, and we're talking about strength specifically here. I would say almost the opposite is true when it comes to skill work. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I guess. Like
when we talk about like toes to bar or handstand push-ups.
Big breakthroughs.
Yeah, that actually comes later.
In year 2
You're
or
not
3,
going to be doing those right up front. I did mention to our coaches, like, remind people that like handstand push-ups are a top shelf skill. Like they might be doing the same modification for a while, but like we want to build a lot of consistency there before we push the next step, because the the demand is so much higher.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is kind of interesting to contrast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've talked about that on a previous podcast too, of in measurements of success. You can always shift what you're measuring to find new ways to succeed and keep the motivation going, because there's just so many different aspects. But yeah, strength is a bit of a bell curve. So it's really steep in the beginning. You make a lot of progress, and then it's like a real hard slog for a long time.
And that's why you have to keep doing it.
Yes. Yeah.
That's why you have to keep doing it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about the linear method, the consistent method, and then the tapering method for adding weights in any given strength site or any given strength session. I think we should just finish by saying like what happens when you've miscalculated. There are a couple different things. So I had mentioned to you that someone got to the end of their session and they're like, I was way too conservative. And I was like, cool, let's see how much time we have. Oh, we're doing fine? Great. Let's go ahead and add in a couple more sets. You're feeling good in the tank. I've seen that your lifting is really looking great. Go for it. Add more sets. Don't do the Hail Mary because you started off too slow.
Yeah.
Stretch out the session longer, but be willing to do that.
Yeah. If you take out too small of chunks in the beginning and you don't realize it until your last set or two, then that's never an excuse to just stack on a bunch of weight.
Yeah, there was somebody who was like loading up some 2s on push presses, and I was like, you sure you want to do that? Like I stopped them like, because it was early on, and I was like, you are holding yourself back already right from the beginning. And sometimes the way that we have to frame that, the second thing that happens when that goes wrong is like, so be it. You're going to get to the your end range today based on the weights that you chose. And if it feels like you didn't get that far, we'll write a note for next time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that brings up something I really wanted to emphasize, which is if you have a training journal or Train Heroic or something, you have a way, if you are tracking your workouts at all anyway, you have a way to make notes. And I think people are really... a lot of people are really good at recording data, and so we get like, oh, I did 2 extra warm-up sets or something like that. And they put in what they did, but they don't often put in how it felt. And I always talk to future Cody whenever I'm logging my workouts, I'm always writing a note for what I'm thinking about the next time I do this workout. So if I get 5 sets of 12 dips, I can put on the notes that like, well, those last 2 I had to pause at, or the last 2 I had to like do a little bit of a kipping, motion to get those to happen, so that I know that I didn't just get 5 sets of 12. I got 5 sets of 12 barely and had to struggle for the last few.
I just want to share some notes because I definitely took advantage of my notes. And I used to do this whether I like wrote it in a journal or in my Train Heroic app. And so for my tall clean plus cleans, I said last set felt the best, felt tight and secure.
Yeah.
So I tried to give descriptions of like what made it feel good.
Yeah.
Right? Like what are we wanting to feel in those moments? And then for my dip snatch and my hang snatch, I wrote, holy shirt, 35 kilograms out of the gate felt hard in all caps. And then I wrote, slow, smooth dip made for a better balance. And for my hang snatch, I said, thumbs hurt today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are what my notes sound like.
Yeah, similar to mine. So yesterday I did an Arnold press. If you don't know what those are, they're fun. And I did a bunch of them. And then I did a chest press. And then I was kind of trying to go to failure because it was a really short workout. We didn't have a lot of time. We were just in and out. So I just did 3 sets to failure, basically. 21, 19, and 13 on a chest press with the same weight. So I said max reps with 40-pound dumbbells, controlled descent, important, because that changes how many reps you can do if you're doing tempo work. Post Arnold press sets. So I'm telling myself that I did this exercise after a previous one, because that can also
so you were
affect.
saying you were tired.
And then it says last set, 1 or 2 in reserve, but feeling dangerous, form slipping.
Jeez.
So
ain't that descriptive?
Yeah. So form slipping on the, which is why I cut it at 13 versus 21 reps where I started. So
okay. Great notes. Those
yeah.
were great notes.
So if you have more in reserve, rather than stack on a whole bunch of weight, stack on some notes for yourself so that next time it's like, oh, I need to start heavier next time.
Yeah.
And just say that. I need to start heavier next time. And then we'll know.
Yeah, if you're wondering what you're supposed to be doing while you're resting between sets, that's what you're supposed to be doing, is writing those notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we give you lots of time.
Yes.
Yeah, because it makes for a much better attempt next time.
Yeah.
Or the inverse, right? If things aren't going as planned, you're going to look back on that history and be like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Make sense of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially in peak fit. We don't see the lifts quite as regularly as we do in the other programs because we're doing so many other great things. And so giving yourself those reminders are very important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One other thing I'd like to just mention quickly, if you misjudge your weights on the low side, so you feel like you had a lot more to give, but you're almost done with the session, is I will oftentimes add holds or tempo work to those. So, if I'm doing pull-ups, for instance, and it's like the last round of a set where I'm not on a timer, I'm just doing them for reps, and I feel like I have a little gas in the tank, maybe I'll just hold chin over bar on the last rep and just like hold chin over bar and come down slow and controlled just to get, like, I want to get the most out of my time here. I want to get the most productive thing. So a deadlift, getting back to strength, is like if I'm on a lighter day of deadlifts, maybe it's on the 7s or something, and at the very last set, I feel like, man, I have a lot more to give. I should have started heavier. Then hold the top of every one of them for 3 seconds.
That would be fun.
There's ways to get a lot of benefit even out of a lighter load once you're there.
Yes.
Without having to put yourself in danger to do it.
I know if I have less than the time that I want to do the lifting that I've planned for myself, I'll always appeal to tempo work because that's going to make me work really effing hard in a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do want to just kind of touch on just kind of feeling things out, because it is ideal to come in with some kind of plan to use your data as a reference point. But let's say you forget your phone at home and you don't know your data, or you're coming into open gym and like Cody and I can't look up your information for you. Going based off of feel, you want to appeal to like the rule of matching the jump or going less. That will always be the case in this gym. Okay. But when it comes to going off of feel, like we've said this so many times, like load up to 50% and then decide from there, right? 50% is going to be a safe number to kick things off after the blank bar. Probably should have said that.
Well, there's general to specific. We've done, I think, podcasts on warm-ups before, but we would start with a general warm-up, just like get moving and then get more specific. So that blank bar or dowel work, and then a blank bar. So you're moving properly. And then you get that 50%.
Well, I just want to make it super clear here, because I find myself saying it still, is that I always expect you to do the blank bar first. Always, always, always. Just because we did it as a group with a dowel that weighs nothing is not going to give you enough information of like what kind of day you're having here, or if something's going to bother you.
Yeah.
You got to get a little weight in your hands. Show me you can move the bar well, and then we put on that 50%. But you always stop at the blank bar.
Maybe people's experiences are a lot different than mine, but I'm always kind of surprised when people are willing to get right into a Metcon or a lifting session without practicing with the blank bar or a few reps of each thing. I mean, it's not just a coaching thing. Even when I'm about to do a Metcon on my own, and it's
like when we've worked out with other coaches and stuff,
and it's basic as hell, like it's rowing and sit-ups or something like that, I will still do a few practice sit-ups because you never know how it's going to feel until you get started. I always reminded of this one time when I didn't do this. It was the CrossFit Open. And the workout was max burpees for 5 minutes.
7 minutes.
Whatever. It was hell. And
do you remember your score? Because I remember mine.
Yeah. So let me finish my story here. It was with a tap on a bar that had to be like 5 inches out of reach or something like that up overhead. And so I did the first burpee, and like my wrist was on fire. It's just like something like tweaked right in my wrist. So I got like one. That was one burpee, and I had to stop. I hurt myself getting into the first one. My point is is you never know what your body is ready for. So that blank bar is really important.
It
How
is.
many times you get in a push press situation, feels fine in the warm up. You're doing down dogs, you're doing all this warm up, and then you get on the dowel and it feels fine. And then you get your first loaded rep on and it's like, oh, my wrist is not right today. Like you don't know it until there's some load placed on that.
Mm-hmm.
So that blank bar is definitely critical.
It's non-negotiable.
Yeah. What was your score?
My score. Well, let me tell you my conditions first. I was not one of the lucky people who got a bar. I got a gymnastics ring. So you know what happens when you hit a gymnastics ring?
Yeah,
it swings. And so sometimes you do a burpee and it's not there for you to hit it again.
Yeah.
My best score was 110 burpees in 7 minutes.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Yeah, burpee queen.
I don't know how good that score was, but I know they did it like 2 years in a row, I think. Maybe we'll bring it back. And we can name it after me.
You want people to hate you?
No. But I do think that workout that we did last week with the 10 burpees at the end allowed people to make peace with the burpee.
Yeah, it was a fun workout.
I'm just saying it was like everything else clearly outweighed
the 10
burpees at the end.
Yeah.
So sometimes the burpee is the moment to look forward to.
Yeah. It's the light at the end of the tunnel.
Speaking of end of the tunnel, anything else you want to say?
We probably should put this one to bed. It's like an hour and a half, I think.
Okay.
Maybe longer.
I'm also getting really hot in here.
Yeah, we need some AC.
We need something.
But glad we made it happen.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you.
Thanks for listening. If you made it this far, especially, thank you. That was a long one. We got a little rambly.
Put it on 2-speed. Probably should have said that at the beginning.
Always put us on 2-speed. We sound way more intelligent when we're... Take the pauses out.
And more practiced. Yeah, it sounds a lot better. Okay.
Anyway, if you have anything you would like us to bring up in the future, please let us know. Doing the podcast is fun for us. Doing newsletters is fun for us. Posting on social, it's all fun for us. Most of the time, we just don't know what the topic should be. So
it's just like what we were talking about with those influencers. Like, help us, give us what you want rather than us having to dig for things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just hard to know what to talk about. So anyway, we would love your feedback and requests of the all request line. Anyway, thanks for listening. Bye. Hey everyone, it looks like we've had a little bit of an audio glitch in this episode, so before we get to it, I just wanted to give you a heads up. It only lasts for about 2 or 3 minutes, so if we can just suffer through it or fast forward through that part. We decided to leave it in because it's almost a 2-hour podcast and the rest of it is great, so sorry about the little glitch. We're working to improve our systems over time to bring you more value in the future. In the meantime, here's the episode.